Hi, I'm Bridget with Life on Spectrum, and for this episode I'm going to actually speak to you a little bit about tantrums. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. Whether you're a typical child or you're an atypical child on the spectrum, you're going to deal with tantrums. But most important you have to remember with students on the spectrum is their tantrums tend to be from basic sensory issues. Not always, of course, if they want something, they may have a tantrum, but that's any child when they're that young. But those with the sensory issues, it's really important to try to find the keys of how to calm them down. Now for my son, believe it or not, he was almost like Temple Grandin. You know, with her squeeze machine, my son liked me to actually be his squeeze machine. So one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is to keep your open mind about different things. For instance, what I used to do is I used to go from behind when he was having a tantrum and wrap my arms around him and then slowly get him down to the floor and have him sit between my legs. And then when I had him sit between my legs, I would put my legs over his and cross, kind of like an Indian, sitting in an Indian position. And then gracefully back and forth, we would sway. And then I usually hum. Don't sing, hum, because they tend to remember with the voices, they don't always like the high or low pitches. And you can hum anything. I think sometimes I would just like do the ABC song humming. It doesn't really matter, but that usually calmed him down a little bit faster. I also, a little key point is if you're a mom, you may want to start wearing long skirts. A lot of people know me now as I still wear a lot of long skirts, but that's one of the reasons I started. That long skirt was actually easier to wrap around his legs. And I was doing that until probably maybe he was 9 or 10. Of course, tantrums were far and few between by then, and I hope they are for you too. But that's just one suggestion about having tantrums and one way of calming them down. The other thing about tantrums I wanted to bring up is I always had 2 rooms in my house or apartment for him. One was always his bedroom, and I kept it very minimal. A lot of people thought it was very strange, but he literally had a bed, a softer floor, whether it was carpet or those puzzles, foam puzzle pieces I would put out so it would be calmer, plus maybe a dresser, and then a small bookshelf of books. That's it. His bedroom was very minimal because that's where I used to try to get him to have a tantrum. If he started to have one in the bathroom or the kitchen or the living room, I would try to persuade him to go in his bedroom. So that way that was the one place he felt safe and it was his room. For all the toys and everything else, I always tried to have a playroom or somewhere where those things would go. But if my advice truly is to try to have a room that's very minimal so there'd be less damage and your child would be less hurt. So that's my advice for part 1 of tantrums with Bridget with Life on the Spectrum. Thanks for watching that episode, and make sure you come back and join us again for upcoming videos. They'll be uploaded almost on a daily basis. Also, if you really enjoyed us, like us below, or even leave a comment for us to respond back to. And if for all of you that are really involved in the Life on Spectrum, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you. We hope that this is worthwhile for you, and we'll see you next time on Life on Spectrum.